What is going on in the single-family housing market here in the United States? Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Daniel, one half of the Kwok Brothers, and wow, my hair is getting really long, not being able to get a haircut. Hey, if you guys think my hair is fine, click that subscribe button and say yes, your hair is fine in the comment section below. If you don't think it looks fine, if you think it looks horrible, subscribe anyways and put in the comment section below, Daniel, your hair needs work, right? And recommend me a good barber. But anyway, today we're talking about the United States housing market. What is going on, especially with the pandemic, especially with all the things that are happening in the economy right now. So this video idea came to me about a couple of weeks ago when, I put my house on the market. And matter of fact, I've been trying to sell it for the last 8-9 months, and we put it on the market, we got it listed, we had showings, everything was great. This whole pandemic thing happened. And well, our realtor Aaron actually recommended to myself and Sam, hey, maybe you should take it off the market. We've been trying to sell it for months now, and we haven't gotten any bites or any serious offers. So because of the virus and the pandemic going on, we wanted to kind of play it on the safe side. We decided to take it off the market, take our listing off. And one night I was actually hosting a game night with a couple people that I coach and I mentor. And Joseph, one of my very good friends, he's also a licensed real estate professional, says, Daniel, why would you do that? Why would you take it off the market? Right now is when all the serious buyers are out right now. You really need to put it back on the market. I think it would do really well. So after making a couple tweaks to the exterior of the house, we put it back out on the market about 2 weeks ago. And in 2 days, it got sold. And it actually got sold for a little bit more than what I thought. And I started, jumping around, running around the parking lot, praising Jesus. And I was like, wow, I must have gotten really lucky. And I was praying, I was like, Lord, thank you. I was super grateful. And then I started telling a lot of my friends about what happened, and they started sharing stories about how, oh, my cousin Al, just sold his house too, and he sold it for a lot more than he thought he was gonna get, and it got sold a lot quicker. And these stories started accumulating as I started sharing about how I sold my place. So I started asking myself, well, what's going on in the housing market? Because, I'm looking at a lot of different things, and the notion one assume would be that the housing market's doing terrible because, well, the stock market is very up and down right now. The economy is doing horrible. We're seeing the Fed having to do all sorts of things never done before, to a degree it's never been done before, to make sure our economy stays alive. And it just seems there's a lot of things that are going on that will make one think that the housing market is not doing too well. So I started asking that question, and I started doing a lot of research. And guys, when I say research, I mean a lot of different things. Not only did I read research reports and articles, but I made a lot of calls to my friends that are in the real estate industry, whether they're a realtor, property manager, real estate attorneys, people who run meetups, influencers like myself. And I started asking a lot of people, as well as seeing my own experience, right? My own personal experience of the last 3-4 weeks in terms of what's happening in the market, commercial and also residential. And these are the things that I found. Well, I found that based on my research, my own network, and even my own personal experiences, that the number of listings that are out in the market is drastically lower compared to this time last year. And well, if you're an individual that does a lot of research, you read a lot of reports like I do, you'll be very familiar with these 3 letters, YOY. That stands for year-over-year change. So let me throw out this statistic at you. So it turns out that this time, year-over-year change compared to where we were this time last year, there's a 15.7% drop in the amount of houses listed on the market for sale. 15.7% less. Now, let's move on to the price, because not only do we have to think about how many houses are listed, but what's the price? Because, well, if there's less houses that are for listed, but they're getting a lot less than what they're looking for, well, that doesn't really matter now, does it? Right? So we have to consider how fast this gets sold and also how much it gets sold for. Now, this right here, the purchase price in terms of what these single-family houses are being sold for, this is the one that got me, because, well, on one end of the spectrum, you had these big news outlets such as Forbes and MarketWatch. They were saying that, well, the housing prices are lower, right? And a matter of fact, if you Google right now, you'll probably find articles that are saying that housing prices have dropped by 3-4% in terms of the actual price. But on the other end of the spectrum, you had other companies such as Real Price and Wall Street Journal, both notable, both credible, and very experienced news outlets saying that, well, no, the housing prices are actually up, right? They're not lower, they're actually being sold for a lot more. This is where I had a little bit of thought issue, right? It was like, well, who's right? So I decided to start asking a lot of individuals, and I started looking at my own personal experiences, and I decided to go with the numbers that we do know, right? So if we're going to answer the question, well, how's the U.S. housing market doing? Are we seeing higher prices? Are we seeing lower prices? We have to look at the numbers that we already know. So number one, let's look at the facts, right? Let's look at supply and demand. Well, supply and demand, what does that tell us? If there are less houses listed for sale on the market, well, what does that do to the supply and demand curve? It lowers the amount of supply, and therefore the demand gets stronger, right? So if there's less supply, but there's the still same amount of demand, it commoditizes the supply, right? It's just like walking into a room and, everybody has a cigarette, but no one has a lighter. That lighter is a commodity, right? It's a valuable commodity compared to the amount of cigarettes there are in the room. And it's the same thing. If there's less houses available for sale, well, and there's the same amount of demand, what does that do? What does that do to the price of the commodity? And obviously, one would say that it makes it go up, right? But let's look at the bigger picture here. The second thing that we have to look at is the fact that mortgage rates are lower than ever before, right? I think last time I checked, Fannie Mae was at 3.33%, and the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage right now is at 3.54%. And guys, that's really, really low, not to mention that they're more likely going to get lower rather than get higher. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the qualified buyers who are out right now, that are pre-approved, that have the cash for the down payment, or they have some type of financing arrangement worked out, not only are they pre-approved and they have the money ready, but it means they're going to get lower mortgage rates as well, and the money that they borrow is going to be a lot cheaper compared to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Right? I mean, that's just the way it is right now. Well, let's look at the third certainty that we know to be factual. And well, speaking of facts, Harris Poll, which is actually a culmination of thousands of researchers and different experts representing different fields of study, show that right now, more than ever, people who live in urban areas, big cities such as Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Houston, Charlotte, you name it, they are actually more interested in moving out to the suburbs more than ever before, meaning that they're looking at the MLS, they're looking at Zillow, Redfin, they're looking at all these websites, and they're actually out hunting for properties and houses for potentially moving from the urban areas to the suburbs. So let's go ahead and recap everything that we know in terms of what we know to be true, what we know to be factual. So in terms of the supply and demand, there's less homes right now. There's a 15.7% drop in the amount of houses that are for sale, that are listed. We know that the individuals who are pre-approved, who have the financing ability to buy the house, the pool of the qualified buyers, aka the demand, their money is cheaper now more than ever in terms of what they can borrow. And not only that, but there's a potential increase in the demand and the total increase in the amount of qualified buyers because you have people that are living in the urban areas where the cost of living is higher, potentially looking to move to these suburban areas. So if we're looking at the housing market as a whole, well, based on everything we just talked about and based on everything that we know to be true, one could guess and one could assume that the housing prices generally are indeed going up, right? Are going up. And that's okay. If anything, that's a bright spot in what's happening economically all across the board. So let's look at the big question now, right? The big question is, well, what's the right move? You might be saying, well, Daniel, all these facts and all these things are great. All the research is phenomenal. But what does that necessarily mean for me? So let me address this question in the form of a non-real estate investor, right? Meaning that you're not looking to buy a property for investment's sake, right? So not looking to buy an apartment or not looking to buy a single family house put on Airbnb. Let's say you're looking to buy or sell a residential property, right? Something that you're not going to use to quote unquote make money as an investment. So if you're looking to sell right now, my recommendation is do it. Do it now before things get potentially even worse. And the reason why I say that is because, well, when you look at 12 years ago in terms of what happened in terms of the last Great Recession, as we call it, in 2008, 2009, right? Let me throw out this number at you. In mid-2006 and also early 2009, so you're looking at a span of about 3 years here, right? 2.5 years potentially, but let's call it 3 years. They say that the average home price, the average value of a single family home dropped 35% between mid-2006 and early 2009. Now, guys, do I think that's going to happen again? My brain says yes, right? And a matter of fact, I will go as far as to say that we're potentially looking at something bigger than what happened in 2008 and 2009, especially if you look at the commercial aspect. Which, by the way, guys, if you want me to make a video about pretty much everything we just talked about in this video, but for the investor side in terms of commercial properties and rental properties, then let me know. Leave a like in this video and comment down below if you want to see that, right? So going back to the topic at hand, for the individuals that are thinking about selling, I would say do it now and do it fast, right? I mean, in my opinion, I think you should be racking up as much liquidity as you possibly can before the opportunistic times, as I like to call them, start. Now, let's say that, well, Daniel, I'm in a situation where I want to buy a house. What do you think I should do then? My general thought is to wait. Now, guys, let me rephrase this, right? In terms of what I just told you guys to do, and if you're thinking about selling or if you're buying, whatever it may be, guys, it depends on the situation. All I'm saying is just a general thought in terms of my opinion. But of course, everybody has their own unique situation, and I just don't know all the details of what your financial goals are, what you're looking to accomplish, or where you even are financially. So again, guys, these are just general thoughts on my end. But if you're looking and you're thinking about buying, I would say generally, wait. Now, if you're in a scenario where you have to get a house yesterday and you have like 8 kids running around and you're currently living in a 1-bedroom house and you have the financial capabilities to buy a house, then yeah, absolutely go for it, right? But if you have the fortunate ability to potentially time it a little bit better, I would say wait. I would say that the home price is most likely going to be a little lower than what it is today, right? And now I know the housing prices, as we discussed in this video, may be rising and it's a little higher than anticipated considering the 3 things that we know to be true. But I think once things run its course and this pandemic slows down a little bit more and the economy gets back more into shape and we see the full effect of what the Fed has done in terms of pumping money into the system, I think I would make the argument that in about 2 years, maybe not 1, right? I may have jumped the gun when I said 1, but I would say maybe in about 2 years, there's going to be more of an opportunity once the default rates start going up, which, by the way, that seems to be the universal common pattern when recessions and depressions do happen, the amount of default rates that go up with real estate. I would argue that you, as a buyer, will probably be in a better position, especially if you have the cash to back it up. So again, guys, let me know in the comment section below, like this video. And again, if you want to see a version of this video for investors in terms of what my thoughts are in terms of what you should be doing as an investor right now and what I think is going to happen in the next 2-3 years, let me know in the comment section below, but of course, like, subscribe to this video, and let me know your thoughts on this video as well. It'd be really fun to have a conversation with you guys, and I do my best to read the comments in terms of what your guys' thoughts are. So again, guys, until next time, I'll see you in the next one.